Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the weekly seminar. It's our honor to have Professor Xia to give the talk today. Professor Xia received a Doctor of Engineering degree from Kyoto University, Kyoto, Japan in 1997. He is currently Professor of Network Engineering in the School of Engineering and Computer Science, Victoria University of Wellington. He is actively involved in research in the areas of mobile ad hoc and sensor network. His latest research is focused on networking protocols to address the needs of 5G networks, the Internet of Things, and other machine-type communications technologies. The title of today's topic is Making Sense Out of IoT Nonsense. Let's give great applause to Professor Xia.
Can you hear me from behind? 后面的人听得见吗？
Hello. All right, I guess not, so I'll use the mic. All right, okay, how many of you are international students? Raise your hands, please. Okay. 会讲中文吗？ No. Okay. 达到。 Okay. All right. Okay. So I'm originally from Singapore. I've been in New Zealand for almost 9 years now. Right. So I can speak Mandarin. I understand, but I cannot give lectures in Mandarin. No way. Okay. Because of all the technical terms that are involved. Right. So most of the time I give my talks in fact, all the time I give my talks in English. But if any of you, if any of the Taiwanese students, I would say try your best to ask questions in English. If not, well, I'm okay if you ask in Mandarin, and I'll try my best to explain to you. All right. So first of all, the title of my talk, right? Making sense out of IoT nonsense. What is nonsense? Anyone? I like to ask questions first, right? So when I give lectures back in New Zealand, right? The New Zealand students are very active. They don't allow me to talk too much. They always want to ask questions, right? And not only that, when they ask questions, sometimes other students want to answer the questions. They don't even allow me to answer the questions, right? So they start to discuss among themselves, and 15 minutes later, right, they are still discussing. So it's very easy for me, right? 15 minutes, I just stand there and watch. So if I ask another question, half an hour gone. I ask another question, my lecture over. Right? So that's, well, anyway. So anyone, nonsense. What does nonsense mean? Nonsense 的意思是什么? Come on. You know what a laser is for? You know nowadays, right, those guns with lasers, so if a laser and the laser is pointing at you, means where the bullet is going to hit you. Right, so this laser is very useful, especially for those students who sit behind. I like to pick students who sit behind. So quickly, anyone, what does nonsense mean? Yes?
Something doesn't make sense in adjective form.
Good. Did you find that from Google? No, okay. Well, I'm just sort of pulling your leg, because whenever I ask the questions, half the time the students will start to Google for it. Okay, but I don't think you need to Google, right? So yes, something that doesn't make sense. So I'm trying to make sense out of something that doesn't make sense in the IoT context. Right, I did not put actually some of the details, like, okay, this is where I'm from, Victoria University of Wellington. And Victoria University of Wellington is in New Zealand, not in Australia, not in Canada, not in Africa, not in anywhere else. right? So we are in New Zealand, and Wellington is the capital of New Zealand. Who has been to New Zealand? Serious? Who has been to New Zealand? Who has been to Australia? 2. Do you know we consider Australia as the West Island of New Zealand? Yeah, we always say that, oh, that West Island, that patch of land that only has bad things. Right, so anyway, how New Zealand is bigger than Taiwan. How many people do you think there are in New Zealand? Population, guess. New Zealand 有多少人？猜一下。How many? Quickly, let's guess. Let's not waste too much time. Just guess. There's no right or wrong answer. Come, anyone? Oh, come on. 20 million. 30 million. So I got 20, 30. Anyone? Sorry? How many? 15 million. Okay. How come all the international students answering? Come on. 台湾学生不要丢脸吧。Okay, come, let me get one local student, somebody from Taiwan. How many people do you think there are in New Zealand? New Zealand 的人口有多少？100万。1 million. Okay. No, that's actually good. Now, right, now, as of 2015, I think 2015 or 2016, there are about 4.5 million people in New Zealand. 4.5 million. Okay, 就是差不多450万而已人口。And New Zealand is bigger than Taiwan. Okay, now my favorite question. How many sheep do you think there are in New Zealand? Sheep. Hobbit is not a sheep, sorry. Hobbit is a special kind of human being, okay, that looks like a human with big feet. Okay, now, so 4.5 million people, 4 times, is it? Which is 18 million. 1/8, right? 9, yeah. Okay, so I get one answer, very good. 18 million. Anyone else? How many sheep do you think are in New Zealand? Come on. Just guess. This is the time for you to get more interactive. Yes?
1 billion.
1 billion. Wow, that's scary. Okay, but at least you did open your mouth and guess. It's better than those who don't open their mouth at all. Okay, so I got 14 million. You said 4 times, so it's 18 million. 18 million, 1 billion. So, one more guess, quickly. Come on. 20 million. Okay, so again, as of the statistics that the New Zealand government checked, when there were 4.5 million people, there were 30 million sheep. Yes, there were 30 million sheep. Okay, now, at the maximum, there were 72 million sheep. At that time, there were only about 3 million people. Okay, nowadays, to be honest, there are more cows than sheep. You know, cows produce milk and beef and all that, right? And New Zealand is the biggest exporter of milk in the world, right? Now, we tend not to say anything about cows. You know why? Because cows pollute the environment. You know, when cows fart, cows let out a lot of gas that will smell. Okay? And then it's sort of a lot of carbon, it pollutes the environment. Okay? And easily there are twice the number of cows as there are in sheep. So you're talking about 60 million cows. Right? Okay? So there are 4.5 million people. How many mobile phones do you think we can have? Yeah, you know, mobile phones. How many mobile phones can you have? 1, 2, right? So we have 3 service providers. Even if everyone has 2 mobile phones, you only have 9 million customers. Okay? So that's why ICT in New Zealand was very bad. Until IoT. Why? Because IoT, Internet of Things, we are trying to connect a lot of things, right? So you just imagine, you put 1 sensor on every sheep. How many sensors do you have? 30 million sensors. You put 1 sensor on every cow, you have 60 million sensors. Okay, all the service providers will make a lot of money. right? And that's why IoT is very popular in New Zealand. Okay, and that's one reason. Right, so IoT is, well, started off by somewhere. Internet, right? I'm sure all of you know what internet is, right? Who doesn't know? Okay. My favorite question. How many of you recognize this? What is this? I'm sure half of you don't recognize. Anyone? What is this? What do you think?
Browser.
It's a browser. You're correct. It is actually the first web browser. It's called Mosaic, right? And I started playing with this when I was a PhD student in Kyoto University. Because when I was doing my simulation, every one of my simulations take 1 day to finish. So I was running my simulations on many of the PCs in the lab, and still it takes 1 day to finish. Right? So what do I do in the meantime? Right? I have to wait, so I go and surf the internet. Okay, but at that time, surf the internet means no browser. Okay, so you can imagine how I surf the internet without a browser. And I found this, and I installed it, and I did all the thing. It was quite fun. My lab mates asked me, "What is that?" I said, "I don't know. I just found it, and I installed it, I compiled it, and it looks like fun." Right? Now, previously, the internet was used for sending emails, downloading files, and all that. It was only when this came in that suddenly everyone knows about the internet. Right? Okay, now many of you probably don't know about this. Let's be honest, how many of you do not know about this? Raise your hand, don't worry. You sure? Come on. Okay, how many of you know about this? Have seen this before? Or even tried it? Because if you actually played with it, you're as old as me. Which is true, you know. Okay? Now, this was made for human beings. But now, there are many things being connected to the internet. Right? So, have you heard of Skynet? Terminator, yes, Skynet. Right? That is what the world is going to become. Right? And the professor sitting in front here, I heard he's an AI expert. Okay? So he's going to create Skynet sooner or later. Right? Okay? But, okay, let's not be, Anyway, so machines are taking over. And if you read all sorts of reports, you have all sorts of numbers. Whether you want to believe the numbers or not, it's up to you. So there are some reports that say by 2020, there are more than 14 billion network-enabled devices. Compared to only about 3.2 billion people. So 14 out of 3.2, a bit like sheep in New Zealand, right? More sheep than people, so more devices than people connected to the internet. Okay, I've been asked this question many times. What is IoT, Internet of Things? Okay, so of course, everyone looks at me, "Oh, you're a professor, so you have to explain to me what is IoT." I was like, "Oh, okay, that's tough." So I went to read. So if I look at the Internet Architecture Board, they say this is IoT. I'm not going to try and explain what they're saying. If I go to a standardization organization, they have another explanation of IoT. Wow, it's tough. Right? Now, if I try and explain 4 sentences to you and 3 sentences to you, not only will I confuse you, I confuse myself. Okay, I'm very simple. Okay, too many lines make life difficult for me. So I want it to be simple, right? And I also want to make something that will benefit me, right? Because researchers like me and you in future is that every time there's a new research topic, you must be doing research in it, correct? When you do research in it, you must have like what we call track record experience, right? Then people will believe you. Okay. So IoT came. So I want to tell people, yes, I'm doing research in IoT. I must have done research in IoT. Okay. So I went to look for a definition. Number 1 must be simple. So I found a simple definition. It says the Internet of Things will consist primarily of machines talking to one another. Fair enough. And computer-connected humans observing, analyzing, and acting upon the resulting big data explosion. Okay, this came from one of the magazines. Right, so it sort of fits the long definition in front. It's simple. Okay, now, why I picked this too? Okay, of course, humans. right? I do not want Skynet to happen. I want humans to still, to be around. Okay. So first of all, machines talking to one another is basically machine-to-machine communications. Okay. So why does it benefit me? How many of you are aware of IPv6? Heard of it? IPv6, IP version 6. Hey, you have been using the internet for so long, you don't even know, you're not even aware of whether it's IPv4 or IPv6. Probably it's both now. Okay. So when I started promoting IPv6 in Southeast Asia region, okay, eventually we talk about machine-to-machine comms, and that's what I've been doing for many years, machine-to-machine comms. And then the other thing is wireless sensor networks, humans observing and analyzing. So this is wireless sensor networks. And then there's this other thing called actuator networks, which is acting. So why did I pick this? I picked these two because I've been doing research in these two areas for many, many years. And if this is what IoT is, oh, that's nice. It means I've been doing research on IoT for a long, long time. Right? So I can go around and claim that I'm an expert. No. Right? Because you will, as you go along, you will realize that when you start to learn more things, right, you will realize that what you know is less and less and less. So you are no longer, you start to worry, okay. Sometimes for someone like you to make a mistake, okay, it's okay. Now, if I were to make a mistake, people look at me and say, ooh, this guy, he's so stupid. He's professor, he makes a mistake. So I get worried also. Okay. But anyway, my message is that as you learn more things, you realize that you actually know less things. Right? And that's actually the big problem, the big data explosion. There's so much data out there. Right? And this is actually one of the defining things of IoT, data. Okay, my next question. What is the difference between data and information? Yes?
Information is the extracted data.
Information is extracted data. Good. If I have an exam question, 10 marks, I give you 6 marks. You still pass?
Yeah.
Anyone else? Who wants to score more marks? Yes?
Data is the raw form
Yeah.
of information. So to produce an information, data should be processed.
Okay, 7 marks. You're getting better. That's good. Improvement. Anyone else? Come on. Well, to put it very simply, right? Information is data that makes sense. Right? Okay? Data is just data. You turn data into sensible things. That becomes information. Okay? So that's basically what it is, right? You have a lot of big data. So what is more important is actually how you turn this data into information. Okay? And that's actually one of the biggest research challenges in IoT. Because IoT collects so much data, how you actually turn it into information. Right? So, now, in the past, like the internet, we started designing the internet with a set of protocols that will serve all purposes, all applications. Right? By that time, there were only few applications. Nowadays, if you want to design protocols for IoT, you have to be very application focused. So you look at this, this diagram was taken from a survey paper. Right? There are already 8 big application areas that you can have IoT in. And there are actually more. Okay, now you try and design a protocol that will try and serve all this, or a system that will serve all this, it will not work anymore. So typically nowadays, if you talk about IoT, you have to first of all look at the application. Okay, it's very important you have to look at the application first. Right? In the past, like even before I was born, as a professor, you can do research for the sake of generating new knowledge. Like when I was in university, my maths professor came and explained to us why 1 + 1 = 2. That's a fact. He actually spent 3 weeks explaining why 1 + 1 = 2. And he came up with all the mathematical forms to prove it. Right? So that is new, that is knowledge for the mathematicians. Right? Okay. Now, what we have to do nowadays is to look at the applications, right? Then we design the set of protocols and services. Okay. And of course, another way of looking at the IoT is that, again, another report says you have more than 30 billion connected devices. Yeah, you're right. With more than 200 billion intermittent connections. So this, you notice I highlight the word intermittent connections. What does intermittent connection mean? Intermittent connection, anyone? My favorite example of intermittent connection is when I give a lecture after lunch. My connection with my class of students is intermittent. You know why? Because half of them are asleep. Then they wake up, they look at me, they go back to sleep. So there's an intermittent connection between us. Right? And then when I say hints for the next assignment, suddenly half of them wake up. And then I don't give the hint, they go back to sleep. So more intermittent connections for a short while. Right? So that's what IoT is all about. The sensors do not continuously connect to the network and try to transmit. They only have intermittent connections. And the intermittent connections can be as intermittent as maybe once a day. Right? Or even once a month. Like your smart meters, the electric meters that calculate how much electricity you use. There's actually no need for them to connect all the time, because all the utility company want to know is how much utility you use per month. So all they need to do is just connect once, say, oh, for the last month, this is what you use. Okay, so this is a very important thing. Now, why is this important? Because the internet, the cell phone, everything now is designed for people like you and me. Our connections are continuous. Okay, the moment you turn on your cell phone, you are connected to the cellular network. Even when you're not using it like me, just putting it in my pocket, the cell phone is talking to the base station, is talking to the cellular servers. Why? Because it needs to track where you are. Okay. Now, a few years back, if you actually put your cell phone next to a radio, every now and then you'll hear something like dee-dee-dee, dee-dee-dee. It's because the cell phone is exchanging information with the cell tower. Right? So the 5G systems and all that, the moment you turn it on, you're connected to the network. And the connection is continuous, it's not intermittent. So what makes IoT such a big research area is that now we have more than 20 billion connections, but these connections are not continuous. They are all very intermittent. Now, if the connections are intermittent randomly, then that's fine. Like my students who wake up every now and then and then go back to sleep. Right? But then, if suddenly all the sensors want to transmit information, then it's no longer intermittent. All of them comes in a burst. Right? Then the network cannot handle. Okay, so that's actually the big problem with IoT. Right, so anyway, what is an IoT object? Okay, an IoT object must be able to sense. This is actually what IoT is all about, sensing. Must be able to communicate, right? And then compute and possibly actuate. You see, in the past, sensor networks only sense, communicate, maybe compute. And then the human being looking at it will do the actuation to do something. Nowadays, more and more things are automated, especially what we call factory automation, industrial automation, right? Have you all seen that video of, Alibaba factory where all the robots do everything themselves? Okay, there are lots of these videos now on YouTube where, the robots do everything. And that's exactly what it is. Okay, that's another form of IoT. Right, now again from the paper, okay, IoT typically consists of these components. You first of all must identify the thing. You must be able to sense, communicate, compute. Now in the past it's always just like that. But now we have to provide some sort of service. Right? What's the use of just getting data without doing something? Okay? And then of course the last one is semantics. Semantic means that the data gets processed and becomes information that makes sense. Right? So in a way, we assume that IoT must have all these things. Now, my personal interest is mostly sensing, communication, a bit of computation, because my research is in networking. Okay, so in terms of identifier, you can have IP address, or you can just have some number. Alright? Now, of course, in addition to all this, right, I personally think that IoT is more than this. So first and foremost, I must be able to actuate. So I think most people agree with me nowadays that it must be able to actuate. Positioning. This is the fun part. How do you find your location now? Sorry? Say it loud, don't worry. How do you find your location? Google Maps. Wonderful. How do you think Google Maps find your location? GPS. What else? Have you went in and looked at your location accuracy and look at what are the options? If you have high accuracy, it says GPS, Wi-Fi, and cellular network. Medium accuracy is Wi-Fi and cellular network. Low accuracy is GPS. Alright? Now, GPS only works outdoors. It will not work indoors. Okay? Cellular network will work everywhere. Wi-Fi, it depends on the Wi-Fi IP address, and then they need to know where this IP address is allocated to. Okay? But Google Maps becomes so accurate because they combine all this information, all this data into information. Right? And then this is all conspiracy theory, what I'm going to say next. Right? Some people say that, who plays Pokemon Go? Don't be afraid, come on. I know many people, I play also as well, to be honest. Okay, you know the Pokemon Go augmented reality? Right? We all think it's fun. Okay, there are people who might know say that Pokemon Go augmented reality is Google's way of getting to know interior location. Right? Because you take a picture, let's say if I have a Pokemon here and I take a picture here, straight away they know LT number what looks like this. Well, like I said, this is conspiracy theory anyway. Alright, now but then, this is still a big research area because GPS doesn't come indoors. You try and do location estimation with Wi-Fi, it's very bad. So after hearing all this, what is the most accurate way of finding location? Anyone?
SIM card.
Sorry?
SIM card.
What's that? Sorry.
SIM card in the phone.
Oh, the SIM card. Okay, the SIM card only identifies you as the user in your phone. Right? But of course, it uses technology like GPS on that. Now, I was told, right, I'm not an expert in this area. Actually, the most accurate location to actually know your location is actually the cellular system. Your mobile 5G, whatever system. Right? Because the cellular systems, base station, have a very dense antenna system that they can actually, what we call triangulate you to know exactly where you are, up to an accuracy of a few meters. Right? But they cannot use that information anywhere they want. Okay. However, if you are wanted by somebody like the government, and the government can use that to look for you, it has been shown before to happen that way. It's not science fiction. Right? If you learn the theory, you go and learn 3G, 4G, 5G, you know that it's not science fiction. It can be done. Right? Right. Now, the other thing is energy harvesting. This is my favorite. You know what's energy harvesting? What is energy harvesting? Yes?
The device tries to get the power from the wireless signal.
Okay, good. That's actually one of the hottest research area now. Getting energy from the wireless signal. Okay, so that is one big area. What is the oldest form of, or what you think it has been here for a long time? One form of energy harvesting. Come on.